I'm Danielle and I'm the owner of Starrmie Sanctum, and I'm going to show you how to make one of my DIY make your own kit protection necklaces today. So without further ado, this is a finished example of one we'll be making. So you can see here we've got the black wax, black necklace cord, the silver plated jump ring, and then we've got our little glass vial filled with our protection spell. In here we have yarrow, rosemary, black salt, amethyst, everything that you'll get included in your make your own kit. So first thing, here is one of my make your own kits that I have already unpackaged because I got a little bit excited to make this video. Other important things we'll need: tea, coffee, a beverage of your choice so that you enjoy the crafting experience. And then the other thing I find extremely helpful, especially with this shape of glass vial, is something to hold it in. Now I use a piece of spare cardboard from one of my food delivery boxes that comes every week. I find this really helpful just to help it stay upright if I need to put it down for a minute, and because they're drop shaped, they just don't stand up on their own. Okay, so let's run through the box. I've already opened this one. As I said, I got a little bit eager. Take away the marketing pieces. You've got a nice sticker and a business card. If you need to get in touch with me and you're confused with how to do these, by all means get in touch. I'm more than happy to help. Then we've got our instructions. These are important. We need to know where these are and use them. And they will list out everything that's included in your box and how to use them. So this side is the instructions, how to layer them, how to seal it, and then finally how to attach the jump ring and attach your necklace to the cord. So we'll keep this here. As I say, I've already opened this one. So you can see the envelopes are already open in some cases. In here we've got our envelopes with all of our components and ingredients. We've got our professional tools, our tea light, our wax melting spoon, and our little crystal witchy spoon, which I really enjoy. Okay, what I've done in here is just created this teeny tiny little hole in the corner. That's going to be what I put my glass vial in when I need to put it down for a moment. So what I've got first of all, we need to cleanse our tools and our workspace, and this is really important to remove any negative energy that it's picked up on the way. So we will find the envelope with glass vial, cork and incense. And in here, what I've done, there's still a cork in there. For each of these kits, I've given you 2 glass vials, and the reason for that is that things happen. They jump away, they smash, they're glass, they're delicate, they will potentially break whilst you're building them. I don't go through that many of them, but occasionally one breaks. I'll put the wrong size crystal in the neck, try and get it out, and then I'll drop it and then smash it. So I've given you an extra just in case. If you don't need the extra but you want to make another pendant, by all means feel free. You've got 2 corks and then you've got your little incense cone. So I'm just going to put the corks and the vials back in here for a moment to one side so that I don't lose them. And I'm going to move this box of materials out of the way. And what I'm going to do for my incense is use a spare lid from a jar to light my incense on. Okay, so I've got my lighter, I've got my incense, I have my little dish that is, whoops, now on the floor. I have my dish that I'm going to use to put my incense on, and that is fire safe, so it's made of metal on this side, and this is what I'm going to burn my incense on, just so that I don't accidentally burn anything else in my house. As you can already tell, I'm fairly accident prone and I love to drop things everywhere. So I always make sure I have some metal to burn my incense on. So first of all, light my incense cone. And when I turn it back up this way, it's eventually going to self-extinguish. And if it doesn't, I'm just going to, there we go, extinguish. So first of all, I'm going to cleanse my tools, and then any leftovers I can do my workspace. So all I'm doing with this glass jar is just holding it above my incense cone and helping to fill it with smoke. Give it a nice little cleanse. What I'm also going to do is just waft in the smoke, and I'm going to use that. I'm going to do it clockwise, and the reason I do it clockwise is to ensure that I'm bringing protection into me. If I was to go counterclockwise, I'd be banishing. So I go clockwise to bring all of the protection into me. I'm going to do the same with my corks. Clockwise for protection, clockwise for protection. Now you could also do counterclockwise, and if your intention is to banish negative energies, that would work too. Next up, I have the necklace cord and jump rings. Now in here, there is one necklace cord. There is about 5 jump rings. There should be 5 jump rings, but they can get stuck in the corners of the envelopes. Now these jump rings, you only need 1, but again, they're fiddly, they jump away. So I've given you extra just in case you need them. And all I'm going to do is just, whoops, drop some of them and hold them over the smoke to smoke cleanse. And then because they're fiddly and I know I will drop them, I've put them back into my envelope. And then I'm just going to move, I've already dropped this into the incense and burnt the necklace cord, so don't do that. I'm going to waft this through the smoke and put this to one side here. Next up, I have my rosemary. For this, I don't want to spill rosemary everywhere, so I'm just going to waft inside the packet with the cone. And I'm going to do that to each of the packets that are in here. So we've now got lavender, and then we have the black salt, and then our yarrow. Be really careful when you're doing this because these herbs are flammable and we don't want to drop any embers in there and accidentally cause a fire. Final ingredient here is the amethyst, and then we have the wax seal beads. I think I'm going to do these in the packet as well rather than throwing them across the living room. And finally, we've got our tools. So we have our 2 pairs of jeweler's pliers. We have needle nose pliers, which are these ones. As they say, they look sort of like needles at the end. And I'm just gonna move those through the smoke to cleanse them. And then we have the bent nose pliers. As the name says, bent nose. Then we're going to do our wax melting spoon. And I just want to do that side as well because that's the side that will be touching my wax. Our little crystal witchy spoon. I love these. The size of them is absolutely perfect for any spell work and putting herbs into jars. I use these all the time. I think I have 3 or 4 of them. They are just the perfect size. I've tried to use teaspoons in the past. They're a little bit too big. I guess this is technically a teaspoon and I just have a fancy of larger teaspoons. But this size is perfect for all my spell work. And then finally, we have the tea light candle. Okay, and that is all of our tools cleansed. Finally, what I'm going to do is just pick up my incense cone and just waft it gently around my workspace, making sure that I've cleansed all my negative vibes. And finally, I will be leaving this here whilst I craft my kit. So it's okay, it will keep cleansing whilst we go. I am going to move it off camera because I am very accident prone. So I'm just going to move it out the way so that I can't knock it over during this video process. And finally, what I'm going to do is destroy my altar. And I'm just going to move this box and get it out the way so that I don't get distracted or knock more things over during this process. Okay, so here is my cardboard that hopefully is going to fit my vials in it. Yeah, that's going to mostly stand up straight, so that's what I need for it. Should really have put these back in the envelope so that I didn't lose them, but I'm just going to move that one to the side. I'm going to use this, in fact I'll turn it this way around so you can see a bit better. I'm going to use this for the video just to hold it in place. So now we have the vial out. I'm going to get my instructions as well, they're just going to sit off to the side here. We've done our cleansing tools and workspace, that's this piece here. We've done all of this side, so now we're moving on to crafting the actual vial necklace. So we're going to use the crystal spoon to layer our ingredients. As I've said, it is my favourite way of layering ingredients into all of my spell jars because it's just the perfect size. There is no right or wrong as to which order you do this in. It's completely up to you aesthetically how you want it to look. I have a personal preference, which is black salt first. I put that in for protection, and then I layer each of my herbs in a way that I like how they look. So I do personally yarrow, then rosemary, and finally lavender. And I do that because I like the softness of the yarrow against the really hard black salt. And then I find the rosemary is just a little bit fluffy when it goes in, so you can see layers of air sometimes. I like how that looks. And then I do the lavender because it's starting to become purple and I just think that looks beautiful next to the amethyst. So we're going to start with black salt, which is this one. What's that? There we go. So first of all, I'm going to take my little crystal spoon that I have cleansed already. Now there should be enough in here for more than one jar, so you should always have enough. I'm going to go directly from the packets. I just find that easier and there's less cleanup for me. And I'm going to use my little spoon and just shake it over the top until I found an amount that I think looks nice. So I quite like the little bottom of the dropper being just filled with, oh, where am I? Yeah. I like the little bottom of this dropper here just being filled with the black salt, personally. But you can use as little or as much as you like. Then we're going to go with the yarrow. And as I said, this is fluffy. You can see in here just how fluffy it is. And when I get some out, you'll see again, it's just this really fluffy. It's where all the little flowers dry on these. They just become really fluffy flowers. So I'm going to use some yarrow. I do tend to find the yarrow doesn't quite go in the bottle sometimes because it's so fluffy. So sometimes I have to just tap it in myself. Tap it through the hole. And then make sure you've got an amount that you're happy with. So here is how much yarrow I'm going to put in. I'm just going to hold it in my fingers. If I want it to lay a bit flat, I hold it in my fingers and tap the back of my fingers, and it just helps to shake it around a little bit and make it lay a little bit flatter. So I think I'm happy with that. I maybe just put a teeny bit more in, just to get a bit more fluffiness in there. Okay. Next up, we've got rosemary. That's wax seals, amethyst. I'm going to move the black salt that I've already finished with and the yarrow over to the side so I don't keep picking up the same ones. There we go. That is my rosemary and my lavender next. So rosemary next. And these I find a little bit difficult with this spoon sometimes because they're long, sharp, spiky bits of rosemary. They're very much like a proper dried herb. So I do sometimes find it easier to just put these in by hand And in fact, this one feels a little bit long, so I'm just going to break it up a bit. And it's whatever feels right for you. So if you want to break it up, you can do. If you don't, that's okay too. I like this little curly bit. And this curly bit I quite like as well. So there we go. This is my rosemary. And you can see here, just some of the sharper bits are coming up into the neck. So that's okay. When we put some more bits in a minute, it will help to lay it back down again. Then lavender. I love the smell of lavender. So here's my lavender. And I'm going to put quite a lot of this in. I just really like how purpley it is. And I just think it's beautiful. And if you reach the same point that I do, where it's just not going down the neck properly and I'm tapping it about, okay, it sort of has now. But if you get into any issues with it, I tend to use a teeny tiny little toothpick and just pop them through the neck so that it goes down. And a toothpick is one of the things I've not included, but actually is quite handy for this process. If you need to mix your wax or push any of the herbs in, my go-to is a toothpick. Okay, so that is all of our herbs all done. Final thing is our crystals. Now with these crystals, because they're all natural, they're all different sizes, so not all of these are going to fit in the neck of your bottle. So great example here, this one is huge, it's not going to fit in. That's okay. Any of these that you see, if you don't want them, just get rid of them. But I think they're great because I use them in other pieces of spell work, in larger spell jars, in all sorts of pieces. So I've included them as is, they're natural. Then you get the beautiful different sizes, shapes, colours, and you can pick from there what you like best. If you don't want them, just dispose of them as you would. So I'm going to pick a few teeny tiny pieces that I like the colours of. So these are a little bit light, they're sort of more of a lilac-y colour. I'm going to do a darker one here. Oh, this is a nice dark one. Oh, where's it gone? Here we go. A nice dark one here. This one, oh, this one's got like a really light bit and a really dark bit. So I love that. So I'm just going to start putting these directly into my vial, she says, and instantly drops all of them. Cool. There we go. Sometimes I find tweezers a little bit helpful with these when they're super small. Or I use my needle nose pliers, which I've not bothered to use right now. That's those in. I'm going to see if I can put another couple of little lavendery colour ones in, and another dark one. What do I feel like? This is quite a light one. I like this mid one that's got that little ombre blend in the middle. And another ombre one. That is, we've not got a lot more space, so let's see if we can find one more dark one. There we go. Pop you in, and I think that's us done. We're not going to get many more in there. So finally, we're going to top it off with our cork and push it in as hard as you can. I like to give it a little shake. I don't know why I do that. I just always like giving it a little shake to make sure I can't put any more in there, I think, because it doesn't make a rattly noise. So that's how I know, like, that's all that's going to fit. Stop. Okay, so now we have a lot of crystals and herbs. I'm just going to move these out the way for my wax work. And actually this is a point where having a cardboard holder is really helpful, especially with wax work. So put this back in here. What we're going to do next, we've got our little tea light candle. I'm going to light this straight away and get it going. There we go. I'm just going to get this tea light going straight away so that starts warming up. And then we have our wax melt spoon, and my wax seal beads are here. So typically I only need 3 of these. It does depend on how well I do at pouring the wax. One thing I will say is when the wax is melted, it is really hot, so be really careful that you don't get it on yourself. I say this from years of experience. It will blister your skin. It's really painful. Please be very, very careful when using the wax. Again, a toothpick is really handy for these if you need to stir it for any reason, and it's just a case of holding it above the flame. Ideally, you don't want it touching the flame because that will make your spoon all sooty and horrible and So if you want to reuse your spoon and it not go gross, hold it above the flame. If you don't want to reuse your spoon and you're just going to put it in the bin afterwards, then wherever you feel like, wherever's comfortable for you. And this is going to take a good couple of minutes. So whilst this is going on, I like to use this time to set my intention. So we've got our intention on the card, and we're going to say to our spell vial, bound by wax, held by stone, I claim this space as mine alone. Protected by earth and sealed by flame, peace and safety I now claim. You can say it out loud, you can whisper to the vial, you can think it at the vial, whatever way is comfortable for you. And we can see this wax is starting to melt, so I'm just going to use my toothpick here just to give a little nudge and see how it's getting on. Just move it around the spoon properly. This spoon's starting to get really, really hot, so thankfully it's got the nice wooden handle so that you don't burn yourself on it, but the metal of the spoon is starting to get hot, so the wax should start melting properly now. So when I do this, I personally really like the clean style of wax. So you can see some examples here I've got of non-clean. These are like the drippy wax, and I know a lot of people really like this style. I personally like it really clean. Have I got an example anywhere here? Nope. And that's where we don't let it drip. We just use the wax to seal it. So I will show you how to do that first, and then we'll get a second style out, and with the drippy wax it is just a case of pour it over the top and let the wax do its thing. And that is where you really, really want this holder for it, so that you don't burn yourself with the wax dripping down it if you're holding it in your fingers. I'll just keep giving this little go. I don't know why I do that with toothpicks, just clean off the toothpick afterwards. So when I'm doing my clean aesthetic on these, what I do, I take the bottle and I just turn it into the spoon, and I let the spoon go around it. And then eventually what you're going to get is just little bits dripping off, and I just keep turning it so that it sort of melts evenly around the edges. And eventually when it's gonna start to look like it's hardening off, it's not dripping more, what I'm gonna then do is just pop it in my little holder. Sometimes I do this a bit early and it will still drip. That is what it is, it's an aesthetic choice. I'm just gonna pop it in the holder to dry off. It's gonna take maybe 5 to 10 minutes to cool down, so I try not to interfere with it too much during that time. If you want to reuse your wax in your spoon, I haven't got an example here, but if you have something you can pour it onto, like silicone, you can just pour it out and reuse it. You're not gonna be able to see this, but on the bottom of my spoon I currently have a huge wax strip. So what I'm gonna do is just grab a piece of toilet roll, kitchen paper, anything sort of soft and absorbent, and I'm going to use that just to wipe the bottom of the spoon so I can reuse it. So we've already talked about how really, really hot these spoons get, and when I say I'm going to use some toilet roll just to clean this off, make sure you use at least a few bits scrunched up so that you don't burn yourself. And I just literally wipe it underneath. When it's hot, it's really easy to clean them off. When they are cool and dried, it's a nightmare. So if you need to clean it off, if you've let it get too hot and you want it to cool down, just reheat it again, let it all melt, then come back to it. So the second piece we're going to do, so I'll now show you how to do the wax for this one. Actually, I'm just going to move the herbs off. As I say, these are really flammable, so we don't want to drip hot wax on these, start any fires if for any reason we somehow get molten pieces. So let's just put this back in here. I'm going to need a couple more bits of wax for this one. I already used a lot of the 3 pieces of wax, but there is still some left in there. And the drippy style does take a little bit more wax. Okay, I think we have enough wax now. So this one here, whoops. What we really want is something to hold it upright, especially if we're doing the drippy wax. So if you have a piece of cardboard or something you can stand it in, that's perfect. Because as I say, the wax is really hot and we don't want to get this on our fingers. So it's not going to stand 100% upright, is it? That's okay, it's all part of the aesthetic. So it's leaning slightly, so what we're going to do is literally pour it straight on top and just let it drip straight down. Now how this drips is, it's based on how it is standing. You can pour a little more on one side if you don't think there's enough there, or just see how it goes. And I'm going to put this down now. So I'm happy with the amount of wax I've used. I'm happy with how both of them look. What I'm going to do to just clean this out so I can reuse it is just to take that tissue and wipe out the wax in the middle. And then we'll leave these to dry, cool down for about 5 to 10 minutes. One thing I forgot to share, and I probably really should have, it just becomes sort of natural to me. So when you're using your wax seal spoon, if you want to make sure you don't get loads of fine little bits, I don't know if you can see this here, they almost look like hair of wax coming off, is to, when you're pouring, just pour with a slightly circular motion as you lift away, and that will help all of the wax move into the seal properly. As you lift it away, it will just make a slightly cleaner finish for it. Okay, so one of the reasons why I personally don't like this drippy wax finish is I've just had to clean this up. The screw in the top of the cork vial was filled with wax, so we'd never get our jump ring through there. Again, I've just cleaned it up using this little toothpick and just pushed it straight through, made sure there's enough of a hole, made sure that I can get something through the hoop at the end to attach it to my necklace. But this is my drippy finish. Where I've had it held up on the cardboard, there's sort of an abrupt finish there, so I probably would use slightly less wax in future just to make sure that I don't get these big goopy bits at the bottom. I like it when the drip just finishes itself and self-seals rather than hits the cardboard that I'm holding it on. So anyway, I'm just going to put that back in there. And then the final thing we need to do is make our magic wearable. So we have our necklace cord that we spoke about earlier. We're going to attach each potion bottle. If you've managed to make 2, by all means attach both of them to the necklace cord. So we want one of our jump rings, just one teeny tiny jump ring, and we want both of our sets of pliers. And I say both. If you find them easy enough to do with just one set of pliers, that's okay too. But I drop these everywhere all the time. So we're going to take our pliers. We've got our needle nose pliers, and I tend to just match them up. I don't know if you can see this here. This teeny tiny little slit here where the jump ring breaks, that's where I match the end of my needle nose pliers to. And I take my second set of pliers and we're going to twist it backwards away from us. And so this is just going to make the jump ring open in an easy way for us to close, because if we pull them apart, they're really difficult to get back together perfectly. So for this one, I'm going to use, because I know it's slightly more sealed and more dry, we're going to use the first one that we made with the simple seal. And we're just going to put the jump ring through the hoop on there, and then we're going to attach it to our necklace chain, which is here. I'm using the needle nose pliers just to hold the whole thing, because if I start trying to put it down and pick it back up again, I will drop and lose all of it. So I find this easiest. Then we're going to hoop our necklace cord through the same jump ring hole, and then we're going to take the needle nose pliers and just twist back towards us so that we have this perfect closure here. If you can't quite get it closed, the needle nose pliers are brilliant for, not needle nose, the bent nose pliers are brilliant for just grabbing the end and putting them over that closure and just squeezing shut so that it's perfectly flush. And there we have it. There is our finished make your own protection spell necklace. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or want to get back in touch for any reason, you want to show off your creations, please do get in touch with me. I love to see what you guys have made. We're on Instagram, Starrmie Sanctum, and I hope to see you soon.